Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode on the channel. I know it has been a hot minute. This is not my usual filming setup, but I just have so much to tell you. And I figured let's just get started because, sometimes the setup isn't perfect and it's not exactly the way you want it to be, but you gotta show up. So I am here and I am ready because I need to talk to you about some really not great writing advice that I am seeing and I have been seeing for a really long time. And not only did I never really get into that advice myself as a writer, but I am seeing the ripple effects it's having on my students and my clients. Because if you don't know me, if you're new to my little corner of the internet, hello, how are you? My name is Bethany, obviously, and I've been a book coach and editor for a very long time, almost 18 years. So it's been a while. And the piece of advice I see is if you want to write a book, you need to find the character's wound. And I don't love that. It doesn't really make me happy because I don't think it's super helpful. In fact, I think it can actually be very unhelpful and muddy a lot of the waters because when you're writing a story, there's a lot of choices you have to make. There's a lot from like the name of your main character and the street they live on to who your villain will be to why they want to be a villain to how they became a villain to who the love interest is to will it be a happy ending or is everyone gonna be shot off to Mars at the end where they will get eaten by monsters. Like there's so many choices. And right at the start, the choice that is given to authors most is find your character's wound. What is their wound? Here's the problem. That can be anything. Like you could have their wound be they were abandoned in childhood. They weren't loved enough. They were loved too much. They were abandoned but found by the wrong people. They don't feel beautiful. Like the wound can be anything. And because it can be anything, it kind of diffuses your creative imagination. It kind of makes you go, well, it could be anything. I'll just, think of everything. And that kind of overflow of choice can actually be really paralyzing. What I find is a much better question to ask yourself as the author, the king or queen of this universe, is not their wound, but their deep pain. It's a slight difference. It's a nuanced difference, I should say, but a difference that will make all the difference. A difference that will make all the difference. Here's what I want to share with you. And in fact, it's one of the most powerful tools that I give my students inside the writer's map. And I want to give it to you today, at least a piece of it, because this is going to totally reframe how you see find a character's wound, which, like I said, I don't love. I don't think it's helpful. But I want you to imagine a circle like a compass. This is called the writer's compass. And it's a just a big circle. And I want you to think of a line going down it, just bisecting it, and a line going across it, bisecting it horizontally. And so now you have north, south, east, west. We're going to focus on the north and south poles for right now because the wound, like I said, it can be anything, it can be everything, and therefore it can just mean nothing. But deep pain, that comes from a very specific and tangible place. You can work from that place. And it also really, really helps your character and pacing too. So I love a tool that does many things, and this is definitely a tool that does that. So, whether you're drafting or revising, here's a breakdown of the writer's compass. At the top, you have your surface pain of the character. This is like their everyday stuff, the trials and tribulations of just what they go through. They're in an unhappy marriage, they're failing high school, trigonometry, they're trying to keep their family from starving in a kingdom overrun by warlords. Like it sucks, but it's almost like their everyday. It's their status quo, it's their surface pain. But down here is something I call the deep pain. Deep pain is different than surface because deep pain is that thing where you don't even want to think about it. You don't even want to know it exists within you. This is the pain that wakes you up at 3 a.m. in like a night sweat. This is the pain that you are going to stay busy and keep your house noisy so you don't even have to like think of it. It's like this little slumbering bear, and you will do anything to not wake up that bear, to not let anything poke it, because that bear will bring up some really big, scary things that feel very dangerous and life-ending to your character. Deep pain is that stuff that you're just like, will it always be this way? Will I always be this way? Will I ever make it? Will I ever do this? Like it's like those deeply personal, really overwhelming questions that a character faces. Um, how this works that is different than character wound is that character wound, it almost feels like you're plucking it from the air. Where when you have this access of surface and deep pain, the whole point now is your story needs to do one thing: bring the surface pain down and the deep pain up. So your character has to face it. They have to deal with this slumbering bear. Your job as the author is to scratch the surface so then the ground begins to crumble, so the bear begins to wake. But it's all about the transition of this, of surface and deep pain. And this is where this compass really helps you not only with your character, but with your pacing and you're plotting, because now everything is so just naturally and organically married together. Because how you bring up the deep pain is very much going to be plot related. It's not just like any will o' the whim thing is going to bring this up. Your character's working really hard to not wake that bear. So now you have to think as the author, what can I do to really kick that hornet's nest, to mix metaphors for a minute? What can I do to really, really scratch that surface? There's actually a great video. Like it's not great, but it's a great example. But it's actually a really intense video of a guy who like is recording himself for a dating video like application. It looks like it's something from the 80s. It's online. I don't have the link. I just saw it scrolling one day and I thought, wow, this is a perfect example of deep and surface pain because he started at the surface with just like how he feels about love and what he's looking for and what he would really enjoy in a relationship. Okay, all surface level crap, you know? But then as he kept talking, it just like he scratched his own surface and all of a sudden he just kept it just that deep pain rose. Like the surface pain began to crumble and the deep pain rose. And it became this whole vent, like angry, desperate vent of how he's so sick of being alone and will he like die alone and he just wants happiness and he doesn't feel like he's lovable and oh my gosh, it was like he didn't need to scratch that surface very hard. It all came up and it was like, whoa. So that is an extreme example of surface and deep pain and how quickly it can rise. In a book, you don't sometimes want it to rise that fast. A book, the real joy is seeing that all happen. It's placing all those pieces together, those pivot points, and those what I call the floor drop moments. So then we can see and experience the character going through that, as opposed to what that guy did in like a 2 minute clip where it just went zip. We don't want it to be that fast. But that just was an example of how that deep pain really lived there. So for you as the author, you're asking yourself, what is my deep pain? What is the character's deep pain? Is it that he was abandoned in childhood? I mean, let's ask a question about that because I always say, like, ask yourself deeper and deeper questions. So that to me sounds like you're almost reaching for a character wound. They were just abandoned when they were a child. Okay. But the better question you could ask is, okay, what is that deep pain though? The deep pain of that is maybe he just feels completely like he is a round peg or a square peg in a round world place. Like he will just never fit in. He was discarded young, he was discarded early, and for reasons he does not know. He feels like a square peg in a round world, and that is just his lot in life. For work, for love, for anything. He is just unwanted in this space of living. And the pain of that is all he wants is true, authentic connection with anybody, with his parents, or, maybe he was, I don't know, adopted. Let's say that with his parents, with his siblings, with his best friends, with anyone. And maybe the pain there is that he feels like he is somehow unable to do that, unable to really click with a person, unable to have that within him because he feels square peg in a round world. So that could be a deep pain. And so it's your job. And so on the surface level, he's all just about like, just stay busy. Just stay busy. Have acquaintances because acquaintances are close enough to friends. And so he keeps his social calendar packed. So now, what's the play for you? So if you have the surface pain and you have this deep pain now, which is so much more sharp than a wound, it's so much more like it already brings with it so much information you can now use as a writer. Like just in that, like what, 2 minutes of rambling, we discovered that he was abandoned, he was adopted. He doesn't feel authentically like he can make connection at all. And so he just keeps his social calendar busy because he believes acquaintances are close enough to real friendships. And that is what he'll accept because it's better than nothing. But now you as an author have to think, I have to scratch the surface. I have to bring this down and bring this up because here is where transformation happens. Here is where he is going to get so uncomfortable that he will be forced to act differently than the surface pain status quo. We're gonna see him in a different light. He might have to become more clever. He might have to become more vulnerable. He might have to become more wily or dangerous or not a good guy or maybe a better guy, but it pushes him out and it causes him to keep going, to move. The bear has awoken and it is nipping at his heels, and he has no choice but to keep going through whatever world, wood, journey you put him on. So you see how this compass is already giving you so much in terms of character and how they can grow, but also in terms of plot points and plot line. And suddenly you're not finding all sorts of scenes that you can't use. You're naturally finding the scenes that are going to be those hinge points, those trap door falling. And I talk a lot more about this. And I know that we've only talked about like the north and south, the surface pain and deep pain, but this is an extraordinarily powerful tool. I've had people, my students have unlocked full manuscripts in half an hour using this tool. It has reshaped how they look at their writing and they have carried it from manuscript to manuscript to manuscript. It helps them finally just get it, get their structure, get character motivation, get character growth and transformation. And it doesn't start from just knowing a character's wound. That could be anything. And it doesn't necessarily match with the plot line you're thinking of. Because sometimes in my editorial career, I have absolutely read stories where it was a cool plot, wrong character, or vice versa. It was a cool character inside a very wrong plot. It never showcased either side of the story in all its glory. And so, if you want to dive even deeper into the Writer's Compass with me, I am doing a very, very fun live experience called the Writer's Compass Live, and we kick off next Monday. That would be, I believe, the 24th. It's 5 days. I've got a ton of really fun bonuses and live experience things planned for you, and we will be going over not only the full compass diving more deeply into surface and deep pain, but also into the west and east axis as well. But I'm going to show you how it looks in terms of story. And I'm going to even help you fill it out for your own story as well and your own character. And you're also getting what I lovingly call the bear beat sheet. This is not your Save the Cat beat sheet. I created this myself after working with hundreds of authors and seeing just where the Save the Cat and Other Beat Sheets take you, and I'm taking you a step further. So if you're interested, sign up now. I would love to have you, and let's get you going. Let's make sure your pacing is on fire, your plot is on fire, and all of it matters, and you have a heart and soul with a character that just absolutely works. And let's do it in like record time. So I'll see you in the live event. The details are below. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will definitely get back to you. All right, see you at the next video. Bye.